Today we're going to be talking about the nuts and bolts of setting up your podcast. We talked last time about focusing your podcast for best results, and coming up we've got some other training on finding guests and booking them and impressing them with your professionalism and so on. But today we'll talk about, you've decided you're going to do a podcast, how do you sort of get to the next stage? So the three things we're going to cover today are, should you be doing video or audio only and how to choose, tips for ensuring your audio quality, and how to decide on the length and the format of your show between video and audio. So you will be pleased to know, I think, that it's personal preference. It really is about what you want to do, what you feel good at, what you can do consistently, and what you enjoy the most. And there's a bit of a joke within our Speaking Pros team, or virtual Speaking Pros team, that I don't like doing video, so doing this training is really not what I would normally be doing, because I normally put slides up, and I normally do podcasts because you don't do video, or you don't have to do video. But you can, as I say, choose to do whichever you like. So some of the pluses of doing video are that you obviously end up with more content very easily, and more entertaining content, more engaging content potentially. So you can post the training, the presentation, the video that you've created, or the podcast, should I say, which will be a video podcast, on YouTube. You can actually post audio onto YouTube by putting a nice picture and adding the audio to it. So it's not to say that you can't use YouTube to spread your podcast information, but obviously it's less engaging if it's just a picture and then lots of talking on there. But that is an option still. But obviously if you've got video, then you can put it on YouTube on any of the other video platforms to spread that podcast far and wide. It can make it easier to interview people as well. So if you can see people, you can see the visual clues, you know when to go in with the next question, and you perhaps are less likely to interrupt them because you can see when they're coming to the end of a phrase, and you can then sort of jump in. Whereas on the audio, sometimes, because you can't see people, you sometimes interrupt when you don't want to. And certainly if you're interviewing more than one person, it can be really helpful to be able to see them. Now, that's not to say that you can't do an audio podcast whilst filming and being able to see people visually. So for example, I use GoToMeeting to do my podcast recording, and you can show the video at the same time but then not use it. I did do one of my podcasts actually with that in place, and for me it didn't actually make a difference, but then I am fairly experienced now in interviewing over the phone, and so I don't think I need those visual clues, but certainly it can help when you're first starting out to perhaps have the visual even if you're not going to use it. So the other thing, of course, is that video is big. So whilst I choose not to use it most of the time, obviously what we're talking about throughout this training is very much about how important video is, and virtually speaking online is. And so doing a video podcast is another way of creating that online video content if you choose to do it as a video. The audio plus is great, obviously, for people who don't like video, like me, which is why I do so many podcasts. It can be easier to set up. Sometimes you need less equipment. You don't need to get dressed up. Not that I'm dressed up. You don't need to sort of think about the visual stuff. It is literally, obviously, just about the audio. You have to remember when you're just doing audio to not do visual conversation. And I wrote that in my notes, and I'm thinking, what did I mean by that? I remember now what I meant by that. That quite often you can end up sort of going, and it's a bit like this, and when you do that and you get all your hands in the way, which...
Speak with confidence online. Fill your programs, masterminds, boot camps and courses for years to come, pain-free.
Share with your wider community. Tweet on Twitter, post on Facebook, share on LinkedIn. Add value to the wider online